Hello, welcome to Indie Game Arcade, podcast all about indie games. This episode, we're talking about Reignbreaker. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
I don't know why I said it like that. I think it was because the last one, when we did Metalbringer, I was like, Metalbringer! Because it sounds cool, but like this one, yeah, I could come up with something. What do you Reignbreaker! I don't know. What do you think? How you feeling?
It's kind of the same energy, so I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I think I need the accent with it, though.
Reignbreaker and Metalbringer sound like a cool tag team.
Yeah.
That I would watch in wrestling.
That would be a good tag team. Yeah.
Game start!
Reignbreaker released March 18th, 2025, year of our Lord. Developed by Studio Fizbin, published by Thunderful Publishing. This is Studio Fizbin's final game. They're closing down. So, this is it. That's it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is very unfortunate. For reasons I'll get into, but this is a cheap game, guys. This is a low price point. It's just $9.99, currently 10% off until April 1st. That is not an April Fool's joke, I think. I don't know. For a quick description, Reignbreaker is a medieval punk action roguelike that immerses players in a dystopian world with futuristic elements. Players control Rhea Ripley, Clef, a former child soldier turned rebel, aiming to dismantle the oppressive monarchy led by the Queen of Keys. Yeah, man, Clef is totally Rhea Ripley, man. She, like, if you're a wrestling fan, you're looking at Clef, you're like, that's mommy. That's Rhea Ripley right there. You said you didn't get a chance to play this, but have you, like, watched any videos of it? Do you know much about it?
The only thing I know about it is it's very Hades-like, just visually, but I don't know anything else, really. So this is where you come in, and I'll comment.
Well, let me tell you, not just visually, but gameplayily, it is also very much like Hades. There are some, like, really big things that stand out, though, and one thing that I really like is the combat system of this. You've got, like, your regular kind of combat that you would just kind of start with, which is like a series of punches, and you have a lance. So you're fighting with this lance, and you have the ability to, like, unlock and pick up different lances throughout this game. And those different lances might have different abilities attached to them. Like, one of my runs, I picked up a lance that had a percentage chance to create a slowdown effect, like a little bubble would form and enemies within that bubble would slow down and it would last 5 seconds or something like that, which totally changed my run and made things so much easier for me. But also, like, they can be thrown at your enemies. They can be used as a gun, like they'll shoot bullets. You can use them, as a lance or a sword. You can slam it down and use it as, like, a temporary turret. Like, you can slam it right into the ground. It'll open up at the top and shoot a couple bullets real fast before you pick it right back up. So there's, like, a lot of stuff that the lances do. But with that said, so the more you use your lance, it builds up heat. So you have, like, a heat gauge. And once it overheats, your lance is temporarily unavailable. So as you're, like, fighting and everything, using that lance, you have to kind of balance between doing that and doing, like, your regular attacks, your punches and everything. You do also have a dash as well. I forgot to write that down in my notes, so I'm throwing that in. You're also building up...
I would expect you to have a dash.
You have a dash,
I would hope so.
It's not my favorite dash, but it's a dash. But you can enhance that dash with different things that I'll talk about in a little bit. Of course. You also have a combo system, so you can build up that combo as you fight. When you, like, reach the ultimate level of your combo, it's called Anarchy level. So that is, like, kind of like the basics of, like, combat and everything. And let me preface real quick, with all the stuff that I told you about that, when I did my very first run, I did not go to the little... So you start and you're just kind of in this, like, starting area. Like, for you, picture Hades and how, like, that starts where you've got, like, a couple of the little NPC folks you can talk to. Now picture that when you go into the next scene, you get that, like, training guy who teaches you stuff. So in this game, that stuff is kind of off to the side. You can totally bypass that teaches you all the moves, and you can head, like, right into the fray of everything. which is what I did from not just my first, but also my second run. So I didn't know all the different things you could do with the lance. So like I was just running around punching everything and like occasionally using the lance for a turret. Didn't know I could throw it. Didn't know I could use it as a gun or a sword.
I think that's kind of an interesting point, though, because that kind of begs the question is, should tutorials like that be forced or kept optional in the way that it was here?
I don't mind that it was the way it was, just because it was just a a humbling experience of my own stupidity. But I think what it could have used is maybe like a little, I don't know, a little checkpoint thing when you first start of like, there was a little highlight over some of the other stuff in that first starting zone of like, here's something to go take a look at. There wasn't one there that I remember for like where all the training stuff was to learn how to, do all the moves. I feel like they needed to put one there. And if they did, I would have gone over there and then learned at my own pace. But because there wasn't there, I was just like, oh, like I probably, that's, not something important. Whereas these other things were the important things that I took a look at. I must be ready to go. Silly me. I wasn't ready to go. I didn't know what I was doing. So the first couple of runs were pretty
twice
rough.
in a row.
I did it twice in a row and did terrible. But once I learned all the stuff I could do, I had a really great time. I was getting way farther. I was getting to all kinds of bosses. So let me talk about like the levels and how that stuff works. So it is procedurally generated levels and stuff. Though, like I say that, and I felt like over a few runs, I was seeing a lot of the same kind of layouts and stuff, just not like every time that I started a run, but I did see a lot of very similar things. There's also like traps all over the place that you can trigger to take out enemies for you, which I do like that, so that you're not just fighting. You also have a lot of game sense when it comes to positioning at the same time, so you can kind of maximize the potential of the fight and also keep yourself from getting injured, because those will kill you too. So what you're fighting is really like security systems. It's little robots and things and security systems that are coming out, because this world is very much like it looks very industrial, even though it's kind of like a medieval punk theme. Everything is like metal, like industrial and spray painted and all kinds of stuff. So what you have to do, so like in Hades, if we're taking that as an example, is you go into like Hades, you go in a room, you've got to defeat everything to like be able to unlock the doors. Here, it's more like there are these pillars that are like these locks, and you have to unlock those to then raise the bridge to get to the next area. So when you go to one of those like locks, it initiates some sort of other battle. So you go to an area, you fight what's there, then you initiate one of the locks, and that will bring up either like a whole bunch of enemies for you to defeat, or it will be like a timed thing of like defeat all the enemies in this amount of time to do the unlock. The bridge will raise, you can go to the next area and rinse and repeat. So as you're like fighting these security systems and stuff, and also like doing the locks, you'll get rewards that might be passive abilities. You get like artifacts, upgrades, things like that can raise some of your stats or might add an extra effect, like 20% more punch damage, or my favorite was one where punches would reduce heat by 100%. So like I could use my lance like so much more as long as I followed up with punches. So like I would just use my lance like crazy, then just punch. All of a sudden my heat was like completely down where it was close to overheating for a second. And so that made it really, really fluid and a lot of fun. There's also quite a few artifacts that kick in when you reach that anarchy level of the combos, which I was talking about more, where you can deal like a ton more damage. So you can get upgrades that increase the effectiveness of artifacts that you previously chosen. So like that 20% more for punching, you can get an upgrade that changes that 20 to a 27. There's also upgrade trees broken down into combat, survival, and utility. Whenever you are back in your like little home base, you can upgrade those, and those you unlock by spending keys which is one of the currencies that you're collecting. So you're collecting both keys and you're collecting coins and everything. So you with me so far?
Does it have like a god equivalent? Like this is a lot. This is a lot of like, I mean, okay. Like I get like why like they have all these things, but it sounded like very Hades, like to where it's like, I'm expecting there to be some god equivalent.
Yes.
Cause like there's the regular upgrades, but then what is like the better upgrades?
The upgrades and stuff like that, they have rarities. So you've got like your normal upgrades and stuff. And then you've got your uncommon, you've got your rares, you know, in that sort of system. So depending on like RNG and everything, you might end up with like really good upgrades or really good artifacts that you can keep collecting and stacking and everything. And as you're doing this, so like, let's say how your run progresses and everything, you are going through this thing, you're going through all the vaults, finding the key lock locations, defeating those security systems that open the next vault. You unlock enough of those and move on to fighting eventually like a guardian, which is like a big elite enemy. This is the part that I don't quite understand about this game and that I have a little bit of criticism about. So like you defeat a guardian. The ultimate goal is to defeat the Queen of Keys. She's like this big, to go back to like our previous episode, an AI thing that has taken over, right? She's this robot with this AI system that has brainwashed everybody. She's using all of these robots and everything to do her bidding. So everything you're fighting is essentially a robot, for better or for worse. So what I don't quite understand is you have to go through and do like so many runs until you can finally face off against the Queen of Keys. The part I find disappointing about that is you're not going into, you know, I'll take Hades as an example. You're not going into different biomes or anything, or longer stretches or anything different. You're literally just like, you fight a guardian, you go back to your home base, you talk to folks, you gear up, you go back into the vaults again. There's some more procedurally generated stuff, but in the exact same kind of like style that you were just in. So it almost feels like you've just started a new run, even though you're still on your same run. You know, you're running into the same kind of enemies and everything. You get to the end point, you fight another guardian, which might be a different guardian, or you might end up fighting the same guardian again. And you end up like going through so many times. And then eventually after that last guardian, you get to fight the Queen of Keys, which that fight is cool as hell. It's a really cool fight. It looks great. The design is awesome. But I don't understand the idea of just kind of doing the same thing over and over, where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of progression, you know, in any kind of linear sense. It's just kind of like, okay, I did 5 runs and now I get to fight the boss. That's how it felt to me as far as that goes. So the only thing I can, in my head, that I can understand that with is that because this developer is shuttering, that maybe there was more planned for this and it's just not gonna happen. But I don't know.
That would be my assumption. Is one, like, yes, they saw they saw that this was coming, like this closure or whatever, so they just had to condense a lot of the ideas into something that would function. And two, I mean, the sell price is like $9, like $10, like when not on sale. So it's like you're getting still more than you pay for here, but it's also like it's at a like that low of a price for a reason, you know, like it's probably like a pretty small, like a game with like lofty ambition, but condensed into a small package for whatever reason, and you are paying for that smaller package. And it's like, okay, I can understand it from that perspective. And at the same time, though, Hades in and of itself is not much different. There are different biomes, yes, but the reason you're continuing to play Hades is to unlock more of the story, but every run is just about the same. There are slight variations between like dialogue options, or some of the bosses are slightly different sometimes, but generally speaking, you're just playing the same runs over and over again.
Yeah, and I will say that for this, it is very similar in that way. There is a lot of story to this game, and that is kind of like one of the big selling points for this too, is that on those runs, there's a lot of instances where you are unlocking more and more story, especially Clef's backstory and everything, and some of the people that have been sort of brainwashed and are now under Queen of Keys' sort of bidding and everything, and how she interacts with them, and does so too in the exact same way as like Hades, where it has those big, beautiful looking illustrations pop up on the screen. And I will say this, they're not nearly as thirst trappy as Hades, unfortunately, aside from Clef. Clef is gorgeous. I love Clef. The designs are really cool though. There's like one guy in a like Plague Doctor mask thing that's really neat. I like that one. But anyway, you are unlocking more story every time. And I think that is at least a part of what makes the idea that it feels a lot like you're just re-experiencing more of the same over and over, a little bit less frustrating, I guess, is the word for it. And I do want to say too that the art of this is what got me invested in the first place. Like, it looks amazing. It's very heavy on that kind of like grungy comic book style with like the really dark black inks, vibrant splashes of color that kind of clash with that mix of both medieval and the industrial environment. So it's awesome to explore from an artistic perspective. Like, I really, really enjoy it. The way that I kind of went and described everything, it almost sounds like this was a cool setup and then I didn't like it. But from playing it, I enjoyed it. I really had a good time with the combat system, especially with the lance. Like, I think that's super fun. And using the lance and all the different things you can do with it, I think was pretty innovative and feels very different from a lot of the other games. Like, in that way, that is definitely a way that it stands out from Hades for sure. And even though I did say I do think it's easier than Hades from the beginning, some of those Guardian fights are pretty hard. So I think that if you are a fan of Hades or some other games like in a similar vein, like Raven's Watch, which we talked about like, months ago, maybe. Oh God, what is time? Like, I think it's something worth playing, especially for the price point.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up for sure. Just visuals alone sell it to me, but then it being such a small price point and a type of game I like already, it's an easy pickup for me, and I'll play through it and see if my opinion differs.
I feel so bad that this is this company's, shutting down and everything, because to me, this feels like a game that has so much going right for it. And I think if they had had more time, if they could be, if they weren't shutting down, if they could do things like DLCs or anything like that, like, I feel like this game would get even like bigger. Like, I think they could do a lot more with this IP. So it's just sad. It's just disappointing that they're not going to get that opportunity. But, we've got what we've got, and what we've got is still a lot of fun and a really good game.
Combo!
Let's talk about other games we've played this week. I have 2 games that I played that were submitted to us from developers that I'm going to talk about real quick. The first one is called Shadows of Wyrmwood. So Shadows of Wyrmwood is a roguelike adventure RPG. My throat started giving out there, so I was like, adventure RPG, like an old goat here. You use spells, swords, and strategy to defeat every corrupted foe. Travel across 4 procedurally generated maps that grow harder with every encounter. With each victory, you obtain new armor, weapons, and spells from defeated enemies. So this has the Slay the Spire formula, but with a look that reminds me a lot of something like Quest 64. And I feel like we've been talking a lot about like N64 and PlayStation era games lately as far as like how games look. But like, you and I predicted at the beginning of the year that we were going to see a lot more games like that, like specifically designing towards those kind of styles. And like, that's exactly what's happening. Anyway, it's charming. It reminds me a lot of that era, and that this is probably what a roguelike would have looked like on something like the N64. and something I would have picked up for sure as a kid. The main issue I have with the demo, though, is there's a gigantic difficulty spike going from normal enemy encounters to like elites, and the amount of damage they did compared to others could not be mitigated enough for me to also attack. So it would be like a case of where either I keep blocking each turn and that's all I do and I just live here in this moment for the rest of my life, or I get a few licks in and then eventually just die, which was a little bit of a bummer because I do think there's really something here. And this was just the demo, so there's time to tweak those things, and they may already be addressing it. And I hope they do, because I really like this kind of backwards graphic development that we've been seeing with these kind of games. And I want it to do well. Plus, I like the idea of a roguelike that's approachable for a younger audience, which this totally would be. That's very appealing to have, just in a general sense. This could be somebody's first roguelike, you know? Baby's first roguelike.
It looks kind of like maybe either Ogre Battle 64 or Quest 64, or a mix of the two.
Exactly what I was thinking. So there's some really cool stuff about it for sure.
It is hard for me to go based off your difficulty spike opinions, because your difficulty is different than my difficulty. So I'd be curious to see like how that looks in execution.
Hey man, we've got the demo.
Yeah.
No, it would go from like I'm trying to think of like a specific instance where it would happen. So it would go from like I would be kind of like rolling through enemies, not like just stomping them, but maybe I would take only 10 damage, take an enemy out. I get to the elite enemy, and that elite has probably like 300% more HP than this other one. And then all the elite enemy will do for the first several rounds is just constantly apply armor and buff itself while I'm trying my hardest to get some licks in. And then the only thing it'll do after that is just lay down so much damage that I can't do anything except block every single turn. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those where it just, it was rough, man. It was rough.
I need to try it just to see, because like that just seems surprising to me that it would be that stark of a difference.
Yeah, and I think you should. I think you should try it. It's a charming game too. So that's Shadows of Wyrmwood. The other game that I tried out was just a shadow game. So this is a grimdark looking roguelike deck builder mixed with tower defense, where you and the enemy both have ritual circles, where a little pagan spirit moves around in a clockwise circle. And you have cards to construct different buildings that do things like summon fighters or trigger instant attacks or buffs each time your pagan passes by it, which is called a prayer. Some of those may require 3 prayers to trigger, like maybe a powerful ballista or something that you've constructed that shoots a big crossbow. In the middle of your ritual circle, you have a sacrifice, which is like, mine was this ugly little bunny looking dude with one ear who's like tied to a stick. If your sacrifice gets killed, you lose the run. On the flip side of that, so the enemy you're facing off against, they don't have a sacrifice. What they do is they go through multiple waves of performing their own rituals until they have a boss that shows up, and you win the round by killing their boss. There are choices to make in between the matches where you're choosing new cards, sacrificing cards to thin out your deck, buying stuff from a merchant, all the good things that you get with a deck builder. There's upgrades, status effect cards that can be played against you. And something else intriguing, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there is like definitely another layer of something else beneath the veneer of this game on like a meta level. So like people that are fans of Inscription, I think that you're going to find something in here, especially with the full release when that comes out. Also, the art is crazy on this, especially like in between the rounds. Everything is like this super dark paper cutout puppet show, and it just looks awesome. But like, I had such a good time playing this. I was honestly kind of surprised because when I first started, I was kind of like, all right, this seems interesting, but like the gameplay didn't feel like it was going to get too deep, but it really did. And I had the best time playing this demo, and immediately was like, yeah, I'm wishlisting this one. Like, I'm so ready for this. I think you would really enjoy this one as well.
Looks cool, yeah.
Like I said, like there's some weird twisty things too, like underneath it all in that very Inscription way that like I didn't even expect. So it's like on top of this, there is like way more that's going to happen and everything too. So the different like buildings you can do is really cool. The battles were great. Some of the battles were like fairly short. Some of them were like super long. It all really depends on what your kind of strategy is as you're playing. And at one point I had to like constantly sacrifice a lot of the buildings I was doing to a point where I almost lost and then slowly built back and overtook the other side. And I had a really good time with it. So I would definitely recommend that for anyone that likes either tower defense or things like Inscription. So that's just a shadow game.
So as far as games I've played, I started playing a game called DayZ with my brother and my nieces. Because we were looking for just another like multiplayer experience to play while they were on break from school. And so this one is it's a zombie apocalypse game on the forefront, but the real thing you have to worry about is people, of course. Like you join these servers, I think it's up to like 60 people servers or something, and your primary goal, there's not progression or anything per se. So it's like your primary goal is to see how long you can survive. Every time you die, you lose everything and start from scratch again. So it's like, it doesn't matter how much you've built up, how much you've like gathered. If you die, like you start from square one. And so the interesting thing about it is just the execution of that, which is you have to make sure that you have that you're fed, you are hydrated. Start with like
take your vitamins.
No, with just your fist. There are multivitamins in here too. I've not gotten them, but I've seen they exist.
Oh,
and then you have to just watch out for zombies all while you're just like running through this like. You don't have a map. Well, you can pick up a map if you find one, but it's all like seems like randomly generated like stuff all around. And your goal, I guess, is to like try to make it more towards the center of the map, which is where more stuff will be, because you're starting on the outskirts and you're just like picking up whatever you can, whatever scraps you can gather, trying to go fishing to get some actual food. Otherwise, you're just like trying to live off of like whatever like canned meat you find or tuna or something. You can turn cannibal if you want to, but the downside to that is like if you eat a person, you're going to get this disease that makes you laugh uncontrollably every once in a while. Okay. And that like makes it where you can't like aim or shoot your gun or anything during that period. You also don't have like markers or teams to say like, okay, this is where my friend is, like over on this side of the map, I'll run over to that. So it's not straightforward. It's just like, okay, here's where I am. And I think it's like a Russian game. So it's like, I'm in like Stalingrad or like it's some weird name. It's not even like names that I couldn't even like pronounce. It's like, okay, I'm in this one city that has like an upside down A and like all these different things. And it's like, okay, let me see if I can find that city. And then, so we're trying to meet up, and then there's live voice chat as well. So, but it's proximity chat. So like you can only hear it if you're close to a person. So what happens, I'll just tell you this story and then I'll stop talking about this game. But what happened to us was we got together, we saw this like cabin that had a fire in it, like a lit fire. So like, oh, okay. So there's probably people in there. So let's like sneak up like real close because we have nothing. Like we just started. And like he goes in, like basically like raises his hand up like he's no threat and starts talking to these people who are in there. These two guys, they are like role playing as cannibals in there.
Oh my God.
And so they invite him to like join them because supposedly they are like passive or peaceful cannibals. And so he's like, okay, like fine, like we'll join you. And then like I come up also like with nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll join in too. So we've joined this like group of this like small like group of cannibals, and they start like trying to feed us like human meat to keep us alive, which I eat because it's like, okay, I need to live, obviously, because I have nothing else. I have no other food. And like I start throwing up, my guy does, because And then like, oh, you ate the burnt meat, didn't you? Never eat the burnt meat. So I ate burnt human meat and it made me vomit. And then like as we are like progressing through it, like they're giving us all kinds of different stuff, like giving us like bone knives made from human skeletons, whatever. And then like my brother goes off to try to like meet up with his daughters, my nieces, and see where they are. So as he's off, like they're like, where'd your friend go? And I'm like, I'm not sure exactly. Like he's just wandering the shoreline. But they're like, okay, follow us. And so I'm following them down this other road. They take me to this house and then they knock me out. And I wake up, and so when you get knocked out on your screen goes black, and then you're out for a little bit, and then you just wake up. When I wake up, I have my hands tied behind my back. I am sitting on the couch. I can't do anything, and you can't get out of the rope or whatever without like struggling. They can see you doing it, so like, all right, stop trying to get away, or we'll shoot you right here. So it's like, okay. I'm just listening to what he's saying. I lay down on the ground, and then his friend's like, do you want to say the prayer or do you want me to? And so they start saying this like incantation or chant or something before they are going to prep my body to eat. And so all this while, like I'm telling my brothers over Discord, like I'm like, okay, dude, you got to come save me. Like they're about to kill me and eat me. And he's like, okay, hold on. And so like he first he's like sneaking up because I was telling like the general area that we were at, and then he has to start running there because I'm like, dude, hurry up, like it's about to happen. And then like he attracts a zombie accidentally to him. They hear the zombie coming. So like, oh, there's somebody out there. They open the door to see who's out there. And he comes in swinging, like knocks one of them out, knocks the other one out too. And then a zombie comes in and like knocks him out or kills him. And so like one of them's dead on the ground. He's dead on the ground. And we thought the other one was dead. So I was like, okay, when I wake up, when I gain consciousness again, I'll try to get out of the ropes and I'll be good. And like, as I woke back up, one of the guys was standing above me again or over me. I guess he hadn't been killed. He had just gotten knocked out by my brother coming in there. And so like, he's just like, you shouldn't have done that. You should not have done that. And then like he like sits there and asks if I have like any last words. I don't even remember what I said. Something about like being hungry. And then he just like shoots me and I was just dead right there. And then it's just like, okay, well, I respawn and we start again. But it was just an interesting way that they're like really playing into the roles that they had chosen for themselves, and just a really interesting experience of a combination of all the things that were going on. Just made it a really funny experience for us.
Yeah, that's crazy. That would be so fun to run into. I love it when people get so invested into the game, because then it just makes it such a more memorable experience for everybody else playing. So like that is fantastic. Kudos to those guys for like doing that. That's fun.
And what really made it shine was the fact that like in some games you'd be like, okay, you'd have to like make up, okay, you're tied up, you're on the ground, whatever, like don't try to escape. But in this game, like they literally, you're knocked out, your screen goes black, you wake up and you are tied up. And you have to like struggle to get out.
Such a cool
like
mechanic.
Mechanically, like it works for something like that very well. So I just thought it was a really cool, like that was my first day playing it. Like, it's just an interesting experience to have.
Yeah, that's really fun. Like, that makes me want to try it now. I'd never been interested in it. Now I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's just like a crazy game, and it's like trying to just the idea that there's just no progression at all. It's just like you literally like what you have on you is all you have. If you die, it's all gone. There's no experience, nothing. It's all just about your gear and staying alive.
That sounds like a great time.
It's fun. I would say if you have people to play it. I don't think it's something I'd ever play alone, but definitely fun with friends.
As all the best games are.
Final round.
Let's talk about what's coming up on our radar, wish list, or play calendar. I've got two right here. One is Rosewater, coming out on the 27th. It'll be out by the time this comes out. A thrilling Western adventure in alternate 19th century. Lamplight City is the name of it. Okay. Embark on a harrowing journey across the frontier with Harley Ledger and her ragtag posse, encountering bandits, rebels, visionaries, eccentrics, and many more friends and foes on your quest for fame and riches. It looks to be an old school style point and click adventure in a Western setting, not a comedy in the vein of something like Monkey's Island. So I'm interested. I think it'll be tricky on how well it balances the story, because like the majority of this genre, I feel like really leans into comedy in some way or another. But I like the idea of the Western setting. I wasn't sure if I'm going to be able to get to play this one in time for next week, but if I do, I'll report back on it, because it definitely has my attention. And the creator of Rosewater, the developer, they've made a lot of really good point and click games. The other one is standalone. This I don't know when this one's launching. I'm on the playtesting team for this one. So this is an action roguelike with fluid pixel animation and skill deck building. Become a sheep, armed with a sci-fi greatsword, carving a path through wolves. Modify your skills with the desolate worlds of a sci-fi apocalypse, and create a unique combat style that is all your own. That is literally all I know about it. You're a sheep, it's sci-fi, you kill wolves, you modify your skills, and you fight those wolves. But it looks really cool. I like the art of it and everything. The pixel graphics, all that stuff looks really great. So I'm excited to be part of the playtester group on this one and see how it goes.
The other one, or the one that I wanted to talk about, is AI Limit, which I talked about during during our Steam Next Fest review.
That's right.
Weeks, months ago. I don't know how long ago that was, but whenever we talked about that Next Fest, I talked about AI Limit. I reviewed it and I really enjoyed my time with it. And now it's coming out on the 27th of this month. So I wasn't keeping track of like that date or anything. So it's just cool. I was excited to see it's like, oh wow, like it comes out this week, because I really like dug the time I spent with it. And it's like that perfect blend of like challenging but rewarding, like any good Souls-like. And it's got that cool anime aesthetic to it. So looking forward to it.
I remember you talking about it, and I remember looking it up on Steam as you were talking. I thought it looked really, really interesting. So I'm excited to see how you feel about it once it releases.
Yeah. Because I think I only really got to play like the first like main section of it and the first like big boss. And so like only a very small fraction of what is promising to be like a pretty like extensive game, I'm hoping. Yeah,
it looks really good too. Like if you look at the screenshots, the trailers, everything, like I like the art of it. It's very detailed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are detailed, my appreciation for you is detailed if you do us a favor and share this episode with someone who loves indie games. Okay, yeah, that wasn't the best one I've ever done, but you know what? It stands. As always, you can catch me playing some of the games we discussed on this show, along with tons of other Let's Play content over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nerdsloth. And we've got like some new content over there. So go check out like some of our new top 5 videos that we started doing. That started on Monday. Let us know how we did. You can also catch hundreds of hours of bonus content for just $1 a month by subscribing to the Nerdsloth Treehouse over at patreon.com/nerdsloth. We also have an exclusive podcast there called the Nerdsloth Podcast for those at the $5 tier, along with a few other exclusive just for those members. At nerdsloth.com, you can find a link to our Discord server and our merch store, and you can also join our subreddit for Indie Game Arcade and help us post more reviews of indie games so more folks can find games that suit their playstyle.
Game over!
But that's game over for us. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue?
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth. For additional podcasts, go to nerdsloth.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are multiple tiers available at patreon.com/nerdsloth, with hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything we do at Nerdsloth Creative, including bonus gameplay videos of the games we talk about on the show. The theme music for the show is Retro Game Tapes by Audio Lime. If you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you're an indie game developer and would like us to consider reviewing your game, send us an email to podcasts@nerdsloth.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade.